Warning! Save vs. Nerd Rage may not be suitable for all listeners. The reason for this is we tend to curse a lot. If you don't like that sort of thing, you probably should walk away right about now. You're still here? Alright, let's do this.
Save vs. Nerd Rage.
Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Save vs. Nerd Rage. Our second episode, in fact. We're here today with Doublenix, that's myself, and Scott Zaboem. We're going to be talking about a couple things today, but first let's talk about things that are going on in our world. Get a little update on us, and then we'll move right into the content. So, hola, Scott.
Hello, Daryl. How's life in Daryl World?
Life in Daryl World's pretty good. Besides a little tweaking of my back, put me out of commission there for a little bit. But other than that, spirits are good. Family's doing great. Kids are healthy. Wife is happy. I mean, that's all I can really ask for,
Outstanding. The reason that I ask this is because the listeners haven't heard this yet. I was getting strange messages from you. That's like, I'm tweeting from the ER. And
yes.
I'm on a prescription of morphine and Valium right now, so I'm going to take a nap. Okay. Yeah. So if you can manage through your morphine and Valium-induced haze, can you tell me what happened?
Well, luckily I'm not on those medications anymore. That's why I was in the hospital. I was working. We were doing some moving of computers from one area to another because of we're changing the space around at one of our locations, and I picked up a computer, I twisted a little bit, and then I was on the floor, and I was unable to get up. Anytime that I tried to stand up, it was the most excruciating pain of my life. I had to have my coworker, who happened to see it all happen, he was like expecting me to get up, and I'm like, I need help. And he's like, D, what's going on? I'm like, he picked me up, put me in a chair, sat there until he could take me to the hospital, and they had to load me into the car, 3 people, and then a bunch of people at the hospital had to take me out and gave me lots of medicine for the pain, and I'm in physical therapy and trying to work through it. But yeah, I mean, you can't let those things get you down. You just gotta keep going forward.
Well, you look good, and that's what's important.
I'm sexy, and I know it.
Yes. All right. I don't have anything nearly that interesting to report. Life in Scott Z World is pretty much like it's always been. Closing in on the 4-year mark as my job as a janitor, and I have no idea why they haven't gotten rid of me yet. I'm 3 years overdue for being fired. I've never held a job this long.
Why do you say that? Is it just you cycle through jobs a lot, or is it they have a history of letting people go at the 1-year mark, or? No, it's personal. I do have a habit of cycling through jobs a lot, usually related to a move. But yeah, it's unusual for me to hold one job for more than a year, and I am smashing that record. No, that's good. That shows that, you're not jumping around anymore. You get some stability.
Yeah, well, it's just me and my wife. We don't have any kids, but there are the 2 of us, and she's focusing on establishing her career as a novelist. So we decided that one of us should have a steady income so that we could set a budget.
Yep, I know all about that.
So that's the plan. And I just finished listening to Kevin Smith's audiobook, which
and how did you like that?
Tough shit. It is wonderfully entertaining, especially the first to the last chapters, which are hilarious. Throughout the rest of it, it's still pretty good. It's insightful, especially about independent movie making, but he also offers some pretty good life advice all the way through. I wouldn't go as far as to call him wise. There are a couple of hang-ups in what he's saying that bother me, but he's definitely one of the more one of the wiser living people whom I've read.
I kind of
good
get
for him.
that. Yeah, I kind of get that same impression. Like, he's got some interesting things to say, and he says them in an interesting way. Like, I'm reminded of did you ever see the YouTube video of him talking about possibly being picked for the Superman, like writing the script for a Superman movie?
No, I did not.
You have to go see that video. Guys and listeners, go find that video. It's pretty funny. He talks about one of the Hollywood types. I don't know if it was the director. I think it was the director that was supposed to be in this assignment or whatever, and that was tied to this movie, and all the things that he wanted in the script, and it was just crazy. And the story, the way that he tells the story and the way that he holds the audience while he's telling that story, it's just so wacky and bizarre. It's like, you hear crazy Hollywood stories all the time. And it's another one of those crazy ones. It's like, people really act like this. People really talk like this. Yes, they do. And it's, it's just a really, really funny thing. So I can understand how, if he had the time to write a book, how that would still have that same level of holding the audience throughout. And, he does the key things. He starts well and finishes well. So, the middle you can fluff around with a little bit more, but those are the two key points,
Yeah, I get you. So, that's where we are in life right now. And, what drugs are you on?
What drugs am I on right now?
Yeah, what drugs are you on? Come on, Stoner. Fess up.
They have me on Norco and Flexeril, which is a muscle relaxer. And that's pretty much it right now. Oh, and Motrin. It's not that bad of a cocktail, It's
okay.
just masks the pain enough where I can be mobile, not limping too much. I'm slowly not using a walker anymore, so I'm no longer an 80-year-old man. I'm getting closer to like a 50-year-old man. So, yeah.
Are you using a cane, going around town, Mr. Peanut style?
No, I've been leaning on whoever I'm walking with. So, like, if my wife walks with me, I've been just, like, wrapping my arm around her shoulder, but I'm actually leaning on her. It's more strange when I'm walking around with some of my guy friends and I do the same thing, but, some people give looks, but, my buddies are always willing to help, and, hey, if they want to look like they were my boyfriend for a couple of minutes, whatever.
Okay, that segment lasted much longer than I intended, but it's fun stuff. Now let's get hard nerdcore. Now let's start talking Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars.
Yes. All right. And you raised the idea and the desire to talk about this topic, so why don't you start us out?
Yeah, but let's talk about what happened before, about the previous recording and what happened with that.
Okay, gentle listeners, here's what happened. Daryl recorded a brilliant commentary about Star Wars Episode 7 not long after the news was released, but because we didn't get our episodes out immediately, the news is already quite dated. And what he said, although beautiful, no longer makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I have to agree with some of that, Scott. Because of some of the information is old, it does not serve as a full segment by itself. But it does serve as a good starting point for our conversation today. So let's take a listen to the previous recording, and we'll use that as a starting point to have our conversation. All right, here we go. Playback of previous recording begins now. Episode 7. Yeah, we're going there. So let's start with the whole Disney Lucasfilm thing. At this point, pretty much everyone knows about the details regarding this deal. Disney bought Lucasfilm for about $4 billion, and a lot of people have an opinion about that number. Some say it's too high, some say it's too low, and then they bring Pixar in there. Pixar was bought at $7.4 billion. They start making comparisons, all that. Not really relevant to this discussion, though. Real quick on this, though, I'm of the too low camp on this one. But that's only if you put the future product into play. If you're just talking about the old stuff, I really can't see that number. I think that number is pretty close, but if you consider future product, that number is too low. And that kind of brings us to the whole episode 7 thing. So episode 7 was announced, and that's pretty much it. We do have a writer for the script now, but really no confirmed info beyond that. Even though that's all we have, the fact that this movie is even being made was enough to bring the rage trolls out from under their bridges. They hit this thing with a preemptive strike, like with nothing more than the knowledge that the movie was being made. And really, is that enough to rage about? So let's talk about the whole reason for the rage existing. Star Wars fans make jokes all the time about the original movies being the Holy Trinity. We really recognize how influential these movies are and love them. However, we need to realize we become oversensitized to anything outside of the original Holy Trinity. The prequels and the changes that Lucas made to the originals have put us all on the defensive for over a decade now. That defensive nature has always been a highly aggressive one as well. Everyone was hopeful before episode 1 came out. We were finally getting something new about this universe that we loved. Still love. And we had to sate our appetite with books and games, consuming both the good and the bad, in order to get our fix. We were held over, but we really ached for another movie. Then we found out we were getting a prequel trilogy. Not just a single movie, but a trilogy. Yes, all of our hopes and dreams have become reality. And we know how that turned out. Okay, so the prequels are hated by most. Why? Primarily, we can break it down to episode 1. Pretty much episode 1 is the reason for all that hate. 2 and 3 were instantly written off after that first one. For the older fans of the Holy Trinity, this movie was sacrilege. It was a slap in our collective face. We need to realize that movie was never meant for us. I was talking to Scott on Facebook about this, and how much I personally hate it. But he reminded me of its purpose. It links children to a character they can identify with. That's the primary reason for that movie. It tells a child story. It doesn't tell an adult story. It's for kids. The whole purpose of that movie was to grow a new generation of Star Wars fans. It was never meant for the old crowd. 2 and 3 served as bridges. While there was some fan service in episodes 2 and 3, they really serve to map the kid story in episode 1 to the adult stories of the later movies. Or earlier. Depending on, we're not going to talk timelines. See, this gets confusing already. Let's not, just carry on. Let's keep going. Okay. But episode 2 and 3, they really do have some cool scenes. Don't deny that. If you do, you're just deluding yourself. There are some cool scenes in there. But, there are some downright terrible ones too. Hey guys, let's watch another 15 minutes of love story, huh? No. Lightsabers. Cool helmets. Patton Oswalt skit. We can talk about that later, but no. There's a lot of cool stuff, and we don't want to see love story. Get to the point. Okay, but regardless of all that, we gotta recognize what these movies were meant to do, and just move on. Okay, so what should fans be pissed about? They should be pissed about the story changes in the original movies from, the later edits that Lucas decided to enhance the movies with enhanced versions. Okay, so I'm not talking about purely visual CG changes, because I do think those add to the movies. There are people who say the original effects were good enough, and they serve to preserve the integrity, and they give a certain consistent feel throughout the movie, and the CG changes, it's kind of jarring and out of place. I disagree with that. I think they actually do add to the movie. I'm talking about the actual story changes here. I'm sorry, Lucas. Hand shot first. Get over it. For me, okay. Sideline note, it's actually better for him as a character to shoot first, but I'm totally not going there. That's a whole other discussion. But the bottom line is, you just can't change the story. You just can't change it. Comics have been plagued by retcons, screwing with storylines for decades. Doing retcons in movies is even more offensive. However, most of these changes are superficial, but we really focus on the ones that screw with the story, and that's what really rages us out. So the prequels and the changes to the Trinity have made us oversensitive, and even mention of an Episode 7 sends people into death spirals. Why? Why? All we know about is the writer. We don't know anything. There are crap tons of rumors out there, but what do these mean? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And how can I make this argument? The sale of Lucasfilm is huge, right? How the hell did we not find out about this in advance? No one even had a clue that this was coming. Info on this deal was just locked down. No one knew what was happening until it happened. So right now, we're at an info deficit when it comes to Episode 7. So with all the info that's out there about Episode 7, it really falls into two categories. One, info is planted in the public by Disney Lucasfilm. That's probably a very, very small percent, and it can be either accurate or misdirection on purpose. We don't know. Two, the info is pure speculation. It's probably based off some piece of info that someone found on some site or overheard from somebody else, whatever. This is not even close to primary source information. This is, 15 down the line and stretched telephone style to who knows what conclusion. So it's pure speculation based purely off some small piece of info, and that small piece of info is likely inaccurate. So really, we don't know anything. You can't pass judgment yet. So everyone just needs to chill out and wait. Once more accurate info comes out, you might have a reason to rage, but cage that until you really can debate the issue. There's not enough info to have a debate. We know the movie's going to be made. We know the movie's going to be made. We know the writer. That's it. Everything else, rumor and speculation. So chill, wait a bit, find a reason to rage later on, sure. Personally, I don't care either way. I'm going to go see the movie. I'm going to pay the ticket price. I really don't care what the story is. I had to go through Episode 1, just like everybody else. I'm going to pay the money and see. And if you say you're not going to pay the money, I really would like to talk to you when the movie comes out and see if you're going to hold to your guns on that. And what you heard right there was the previous recording about Star Wars Episode 7 that I did. So let's start talking about things from that point. Scott, where do you want to start off with this?
Okay. Well, the point of your original piece was that it was too early to start raging about anything that Disney was doing, for better or worse, because we really didn't know what Disney had plans. At that time, no one had been cast. There was no movie script being handed around because none had been written, and Disney had made no executive decisions. Now we're a month removed from that, and we are starting to learn some things. As Daryl and I are recording this, we just within the last day or two learned that Disney has decided to axe the Clone Wars and a few Star Wars-based video games that were in production. So now we know some stuff. Now we have some stuff to talk about, or rage about, either for or against, as we choose.
Now, the Clone Wars was supposed to be... What was the Clone Wars supposed to be?
No, I'm talking about the television series on Cartoon Network.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and I will be honest with you, right up front, I am a big Star Wars fan, and I did not even realize that the Clone Wars was still on TV. Okay, it's a significant piece of the Star Wars IP, but it's not a huge piece. It only ever got mediocre reviews. It takes place in one of the time points in the setting that is not the favorite by the fans, and it's never got, as the television show on Cartoon Network, the CGI looking 30-minute episode shows. It's a good show, but it was never a great show. The scripts always seemed kind of rushed and pounded out to me. Of the episodes that I did see, it never got the attention or the production values of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, for example.
Okay.
And both of those shows came out of LucasArts, and they could not be more different. But now Disney has axed that and has axed a few video games that were in production, and that seemed to, from what I've seen online and friends with whom I've spoken, it's the video games that have really gotten under people's skin. Because Disney came in like, someone at Disney came in like a corporate hatchet man and just laid off entire departments of people, canceled a lot of projects, and just dropped everything in order to clean the slate for whatever it is that Disney is going to produce next. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit of two minds. How do you feel about it, Dee?
Well, I can only go off of the little bit that I know about. The Clone Wars, I don't know anything about that. I've never watched the show, so I can't really speak to the quality or anything like that. I did do a little news snippet about the LucasArts development studio getting shut down, and two of those games that got killed, one of them was Star Wars 1313, and that was very much, the fans were liking what they saw. They were excited for it. There was a lot of hype around it, and that was something that people were waiting for. And I think that was more, killing that one would be shooting yourself in the foot. Especially, I mean, if they both of them were showed and there was not a lot of hype around either one of them, I'd say, okay, it'd probably be safe to kill them both, whatever. But that one, I know in particular, had some really positive fan backing on it. Now there's some word that might be saved through the licensing deals that they're going to do as like through the closing of that studio, but that's still uncertain.
Yeah, that is an important detail. It's not entirely certain that neither of these games will ever be released. They might be. It depends on the wording of a lot of contractual obligations that we as the fans have simply never seen.
Yeah, we never want to be part of that. So throw down 10 pages of legalese for me, sir. I'd really like to read that.
Okay. Regarding the laying off of the video game designers and everyone associated with them, that is a move which has really gotten under the skin of a lot of people. And I'm not saying that it's an unjustified reaction, but it's something that we should have seen coming. We didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming, but I should have. And there are a couple of reasons why. One is that this really does happen a lot in video game production. The guys at Penny Arcade did a comic strip and website called The Trenches, which is about video game development. And if you go to The Trenches website, you can read first-hand accounts of video game designers and things that have happened to them in their careers. And heavens to Murgatroyd. These guys get laid off all the time for little reason or no reason whatsoever. And as a result, they also leave their jobs every time they get a better offer. They'll think nothing of going from one game design studio and jumping ship to another because there is no loyalty in that industry. So, although I was surprised to see a lot of people get laid off by Disney, I was not shocked by it. And Daryl, you work in another industry which has no loyalty whatsoever. You're in computer IT, right?
Yeah, there's there is some loyalty. It depends on where you are. In my geographic area, there's actually high levels of loyalty because
interesting.
Yeah, in our area, IT has golden handcuff issues where, people have been at a place so long and have been getting steady pay raises. So for them to jump ship to another company, they have to take substantial pay cuts sometimes. So generally in our area, we have a lot of loyalty. Now, other parts of the country, it is mercenary life. You know, you go where the contracts are, you know, whoever's going to pay you a little bit more or give you a little more benefit or anything, you just jump ship. And you can see some of those companies come out to our area and try to play that game with the staffing or with, you know, the IT staff out here. No, they don't play that. It's not mercenary out here, but other parts of the country, it's definitely like that. And so I can understand that mindset where you are in the trenches, and if someone waves you a couple dollars in the air saying, hey, I'll pay you more, jump ship, go to the other side. Sorry, dude. It's the mercenary way of life, you know? So I can understand where these guys are coming from. And you're right, we should have seen this coming. I mean, this is the nature of the beast.
Okay, well, we were getting a little bit off last. All right. I'm looking forward to episode 7. I'm going to give the Disney Corporation a chance. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll show up on at the theater to see it. But I'm always skeptical about movies going in. Always skeptical. So I'm not going to be getting excited about it beforehand.
And I agree with that sentiment. I mean, I would go one step farther and say that nobody has the right to rage about anything regarding episode 7 yet. I guess I'll stipulate that with one thing. The only way that I would allow someone to rage is if they're a rabid Trekker and they find out that George Takei is going to be in episode 7. Then yes, I will grant you that one, sir or ma'am.
Yeah, we both saw that picture that was posted on April Fool's Day by George Takei.
I know, that was so awesome.
Good. Yeah, that was pretty good. That was possibly the best April Fool's prank of the year.
So if you saw that and you got pissed off, okay, I'm cool with that. I understand. But no, the real information, no one's allowed to be pissed off. I'm sorry. J.J. Abrams, he's had as many hits as he has misses, okay? So that's just a wash.
How do you feel about J.J. Abrams being put in charge of Disney's Star Wars? Because I gotta tell you, although I like J.J. Abrams' work, I'm not comfortable with only one director being given creative control of the two biggest science fiction franchises
that start with Star.
In the 21st century. Yeah, both Star Trek and Star Wars.
That is my only discomfort. I share that with you. Both in the same dude's hands, that's a little worrisome. However, I will say that he did pretty damn good with Star Trek.
Yeah. And it has been subsequently pointed out to me that J.J. Abrams was only signed on to do a second Star Trek movie. And after that, he might just walk away from Star Trek altogether. We don't know.
I think that he should do one more. I don't know what the timing of that would be, though. I mean, then you start... there's got to be enough separation between episode 7 and the second Star Trek movie. And that's got to be years. I don't like the idea of them being too close. Because I worry there's going to be spillage. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
Yes. And not even necessarily that J.J. Abrams himself doesn't have enough time to devote to both IPs, but more that they can be too similar because he's in the same place in his life, emotionally and at his maturity level, that the two projects could end up being uncomfortably similar as a result. And that's entirely an artistic concern.
But I do think he has the ability to pull it off.
Okay. All right. So you're optimistic about JJ.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that I've seen that has had his name attached to it, I'd say most of it has been good. Now, you can debate with me on that. I mean, that's just personal preference.
Yeah.
Some things could have been executed better, and I think the team dynamic has more of an impact than any one individual. So I think solely putting his missteps all on him, you can't really say that. But then again, you can't say that about his successes either. I mean, he's just one dude. There's great people in the world, but, they can't sway entire production teams and, the big money who wants to have the giant spider beast at the end of the movie. That's a reference to the Kevin Smith thing that we were talking about earlier. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my big picture concern. Are you ready for the big picture? Can you handle it, Doublenix?
I can handle it.
All right. Whenever you're talking about Disney, you have to keep in mind this rule. It's always about the princesses. Here's what I mean by that. Okay. The Disney Princess line is by itself, without any of Disney's parks or cruise lines or television networks, is by itself a $1 billion per year business. And it does this by putting the Disney Princess logo and trademarked images on other products. When a Disney Princess hairbrush comes to market, no one in Disney is designing a new hairbrush. Some other company is buying permission to put a picture of a Disney princess printed on the product. So and Disney has put out over 10,000 individual products just in the Disney Princess line. Almost none of them were created by Disney. Disney puts out a princess movie once every year or two. That's the one product that Disney Princess puts out. Not that there's a Disney Princess department in Disney. There probably should be. But that Disney puts out, which is princess themed. And those movies are excellent. Nobody's knocking the movies. But just about every little girl in Western civilization right now is a fan of Disney Princess. And they've got the bed sheets, the Disney Colors brand house paint on their bedroom walls, the dolls, and yes, the DVDs of the movies themselves. And these little girls, Disney is counting on them to be customers for life. And they probably will be. So the $1 billion per year that the Disney princesses generate is not even the most important part of the story. So what does this have to do with Star Wars? Well, Disney is sitting on what it knows is the most successful marketing strategy in the history of business. Hands down, no question about it. And what Disney wants more than anything else in the world is to copy that success with little boys. That is the goal. To create an IP that little boys will love as much as the little girls love Disney Princess. That's why Disney bought out Marvel. That's why Disney bought out Star Wars. It's all about finding that successful niche and get the boys. Get them as customers and consumers, the same way that they already have the little girls. And Disney is, hey, Flynn Rider was a cool character, fun to watch. Boys liked him. Boys don't want to grow up to be Flynn Rider or any of the Disney princes. The princes are just not getting the job done. So every business decision that Disney makes is motivated by this overall strategy. So when Disney bought Star Wars, it looked at products like Clone Wars and the video games and said, this does not accomplish our end goal. And that's why it got cut.
I can see that. There's a lot of merit to what you're saying. When you mentioned the Disney princesses, let me tell you where I'm standing in my house. I'm standing in our, the TV room area, for lack of a better term. It's the main area of the house where the family congregates to, engage in entertainment, right?
Yes.
To my left, 2 feet away, is a Disney Princess kitchen set. To my right, 2 feet away, there is a Disney Princess Play-Doh set. Behind me, 3 feet and to the left, there is a table with a bunch of coloring books and stencils and art supplies that are all Disney Princess branded. Looking around this room, I can spot another 6 items easily that are Princess branded items.
Wow.
You're absolutely right about that. My daughter has never seen a Disney Princess movie. So that tells you the power of the princess line. It's not about the movies or whatever. It's a princess. Every girl growing up wants to be a princess because it's fun. You put on cool clothes and you dance around and all that stuff. They got to have a boy component of that. And they by purchasing Marvel and purchasing Star Wars, they are getting the boy components for that.
Yes.
Boys want to carry a freaking lightsaber because it's the coolest weapon in the world. Can you think of a cooler weapon than the freaking lightsaber?
No. In fact, the plastic lightsaber toy with the sound effects was arguably the greatest mass-marketed toy of all time.
I saw those in stores and wanted to buy one for myself as an adult. I was like, that is freaking cool. Now, the only thing that could possibly be cooler than a freaking lightsaber is having mutant powers. Or like,
yes.
When you get older, that stuff doesn't change.
Yeah, we get more analytical about it.
Oh yeah, like we were having a discussion today about this, the other day on the forums about superhero teams, and I'm like, why hasn't anyone picked up Deathstroke? This is ridiculous to me. That's the kind of discussions that we have. It becomes more the geek worship and fandom side of it, but kids, they want to be cool and powerful and important and stuff like that, because you got to remember, kids aren't really important or powerful in their worlds, right? They're always having to listen to their parents, and a lot of times they can't do things for themselves. I mean, I sit there and I watch my daughter, and the key things that she wants to do is do things herself and be heard. So being able to put on that outfit of a superhero and the Disney princess dress with the shoes and the crown and all that, right? Or, carry that lightsaber and wear the robe, right? They're important and powerful. They're masters of their world. They can change and manipulate things that they can't do in their normal lives. And now, we could just say that's the same for adults too. But for them, they have a lesser degree of control of their lives. And I think that hits upon that deep psychological stuff that's all wired in us, and with children, it's especially more powerful. So I think that Disney making these buys, it's just genius, especially when you frame it in comparison to that princess thing. That's got to be what they're doing it for.
Yeah. Oh, it's a smart business move. But as a fan, is it a business move that you like or one that you don't like? That's the tough question.
No, it's an easy question. I do like it. And it's a simple thing. It's money. There's big money backing these things now. Look at the Marvel movies and their progression. Okay, so early Marvel movies, they sucked because they had to license it out to other people and they didn't know what to do with it. Then Marvel started making their own movies, right?
Yes.
The movies got better. Now Disney buys Marvel. We have a freaking Avengers. You cannot tell me that is not an awesome freaking... You, as a nerd, have been waiting your whole freaking life for something like that.
Yeah.
And it finally came.
Yeah, even a Hollywood-hating guy would have to admit that the Avengers movie, when compared to the 1970 Spider-Man movies, is an improvement.
I wasn't going back that far, but damn.
Okay.
Well, even look at the old Superman movies, right? Those are looked at positively.
Oh yeah, the 80s Superman movies, yeah. Particularly the first two.
Yeah, the first two, all people love the first two. And they got kind of hokey as they continued on, but, whatever. That was a successful franchise. What, 6 movies in that? Was it something like 6 movies? I think it was like 6 movies. That's crazy. That's Rocky. That's like,
Yeah.
You don't get 6 movies out of most IP, right? So
Right.
now you tap into Marvel, right? There's decades of stories behind that. You tap into Star Wars, there's decades of stories. If you want to use the expanded universe, you got books, you got all this stuff that's built in.
Yes.
There's no shortage of material. So instead of trying to build something new from scratch, where you don't know where you're going to have what kind of results you're going to have, take something that's established, start moving it in the direction where you need it to go. And you know what? This is going to add to the princess line. Who's the most recognizable nerd princess of them all? Princess Leia. Boom. You got another princess to add to lineup instantly. You bought a princess.
True that.
Now, if they start making the future movies, episode 7, 8, whatever they want to do with Luke's kids, you could potentially have another princess in there.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I hear you. Oh, and I want to give credit where it is due. The insight that I shared, which is the connection between the Disney princesses and the Jedi, was not my own. It was my wife, Lisa, who pointed that out to me.
So Lisa's the genius.
Yes.
Well,
Thank
you, Lisa, for noticing that, because I didn't see that, because I'm a guy. I'm not going to see that. But I have 2 daughters, and once you said that, once those words came out of your mouth, I'm like, oh yes, this has got to be the reason, because there's no way that can't be true.
Yeah. Well, this segment has gone on a lot longer than anticipated, but, it is a special holiday in Nerdland. Today is May the 4th, so May the 4th be with you all. Thought it was important to get the whole Star Wars thing on this occasion. But yeah, I think we're going to end the episode here. Sorry, this week we won't have time for a rage. We will definitely include it for next week. We're going to cut the episode right here, and we look forward to meeting up with you guys again next week. So tune in and enjoy the show. Let's cut to the contact info. How do you get a hold of us? Well, you're about to find out. Do you want to contact the folks at Save vs. Nerd Rage? Well, there's a lot of different ways of doing that. You can catch us on Twitter at Save vs. Nerd Rage. You can catch us at Gmail at savevsnerdrage@gmail.com. You can also catch us on Facebook. Guess what that name is? Save vs. Nerd Rage. Look us up. You'll find us. Feel free to send comments, feedback, or all the hate in your heart. We welcome it. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Filled with rage.
Save vs. Nerd Rage.
This week's music brought to you by MAFX at Profit Motive Media.
We have also used the Tiberian National Anthem by Tanner Helen, which is generously released and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribute Share-alike 3.0